have a really, really special guest.
So nice to see you. How are you doing? Hello. Happy Valentine's and a happy Black History Month. These 28 days of this Black History Month, we learn and celebrate about the Black community in Canada. We celebrate the many achievements and contribution of these Black Canadians who have throughout the history worked so much to make Canada what it is today. Today, I have two special guests in my studio. Before I call them, I would like to share a little bit about these two women who have dedicated their lives to providing support, shelter, and help to women who are subject to domestic violence and other abuse. Women who are always in desperate need of help and who are in their worst phases of life are given shelter, counseling, food, comfort by this amazing organization. And what's fascinating about the organization is that they go above and beyond their means to provide legal assistance and other services in over 18 languages. Before going further, I would like to welcome Carla Nato.
Hello, hi.
And I would like to welcome Lina Almanzan on my show.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, beautiful ladies. How are you doing?
Amazing. Happy Valentine's Day, and yes, happy Black History Month.
Yes.
That's right.
A very happy Valentine's Day to you and my viewers, and a very happy Black History Month to Carla, Lina, and all the people in Canada and US who celebrate this month to commemorate and honor people like you who have been doing so much to make our country so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Carla is a community program manager with this Women's Habitat, and she has a strong background in social work and business, and with her 20 plus years of experience in supporting women impacted by violence, she is responsible for women's habitats, needs, and all the other things to run the show, to run the management here. Lina is responsible for Women's Habitat's IT needs. She works to serve her Spanish-speaking community, manages the resource development team. She holds a BSc in Industrial Engineering with a major in systems. So much of diversity. My God, you ladies are super talented. How are you making use of your education and experience here? I can very well see this.
Well, we all do. We all do it in a way, right? Including you.
Thank you. But I would like to hear from you what you're doing. Let's start with the video my team has made for you guys.
Okay.
That night, my husband came with my brother-in-law and other friends shot me in the face.
Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
That was a
Wow.
my team.
Thank you. Thank you to your team. Yes.
Thank you so much for liking girls. I'm very happy you liked it. Girls, I mean, my team, they have more of girls there. All right. So how many women on average reached you during this pandemic as compared to the previous time?
Well, it's a complex question. As you know, due to the pandemic, many shelters. Well, why don't I start by talking a little bit about Women's Habitat?
All right.
So,
Sure.
Women's Habitat of Etobicoke is a feminist multi-service organization. We have two distinct services. We have a shelter services, which is where women seek refuge. And then we have an outreach services that provide supports to women who are still living in the community. Many of them may still be living with their abusive partners. So in both our services, we provide counseling from a trauma-informed service delivery. We provide supports with assessing risk, planning for safety, and any other supports that individual women and their dependents may identify as needing. In terms of the pandemic, as you know, we all in the province, in the country, in the world, have had to make some adjustments in order for us to follow the protocols established by our authorities so that we are all safe. So right now we have we are still serving women, we're still housing women, we are housing them differently. We are housing them in different spaces because we need to make sure that we still have the physical distancing requirements met. So, but in terms of women accessing or trying to get services, the numbers are still very high. The numbers are still very high. We still get phone calls through the Assaulted Women's Helpline. We get phone calls ourselves in our shelter, in our outreach center. So the numbers are high, the need is high. And unfortunately, the pandemic is just making it a little bit more, or extremely, sorry, not a little bit, it's making it extremely difficult for us to continue to do what we do, which is support women, support them in their journey to empower themselves, support the healing process, support the community efforts to end violence against women and their dependents. So Lina, I'll pass it to you to talk a little bit about the other
I was just going to ask Lina. Lina, what do you do there in the shelter?
Yes, at Women's Habitat, I have the privilege really to work with donors and volunteers on a daily basis. And during the whole pandemic time since March last year, what we have seen is that the people, our community, our donors, they are with us. And that's the only way that really we have been able to provide these new supports and be flexible about how to fulfill the needs of the clients. Women's Habitat is a small but very mighty organization. And if the pandemic has teaching us something, is really the power of the individuals and how that power of everyone who really cares about the cause and the women and the children is making the things possible. So I feel really privileged for during this time to being able to be close to those success stories, to being able to be part of the miracle that is having many people coming in different capacities just to help and support. And it doesn't matter how restrictive our situation is due to the COVID protocols, we still have people with us every single time we need them, driving, moving, donating, packing, sharing, can by can, small bag of food, small bag of rice, but we are able to fulfill, the basic food and security needs of our clients. So it has been great.
I think it's not only the support of food and everything, it's the hope that people reach you, that people approach you. It's the biggest gift to them when they're in their worst phase of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
So
that's correct.
Yes. Today, the world has become technologically so advanced. Society has become modern. Women on average are excelling in all the industries. So why there is rise in violence?
Well, in fact, Ekta, with the use of technology, so has the vulnerability for women around technology. There are now ways in which abusive men, abusive partners have found to continue to abuse women and that's online abuse. That's, through the use of technology that now women are also having to prepare safety plans for, which is really sad, because as we advance as human beings, so does violence. And unfortunately, women who experiencing isolation, women who are experiencing other vulnerabilities, their vulnerabilities continue to increase, because I would say violence has become so sophisticated, right? Nevertheless, what we do is to also support women to develop those strategies to keep themselves safe digitally, right? As we continue to be in this pandemic, we are finding the need to engage women virtually as well,
Yeah.
digitally as well. So we are working very hard to support women to develop the technological skills, the capacity to access equipment, because this pandemic also came to show the inequality, the social inequality, right? Not everyone had access to computers, to internet. And now we can say today, with some sadness, that having internet and having a computer is a basic need, right? Because that's the way that women can access supports, that we can continue to engage with them. So yeah, it is a double-edged sword, that I would say, that there are benefits to technology, but there's also the side that is not so good for some of us.
Do you also provide gadgets?
Sorry?
Do you also provide gadgets like iPad
We
and things?
One of the things that we are doing through our Together Virtually project is to make sure that those clients who don't have access to equipment receive equipment, so that they can continue to access our services and our programming. So do we have enough? No, we don't have enough. And this is where I let my how people say partner in crime? We're not partners in crime. We're partners in the work. I will let Lina talk a little bit more about this need.
Yes, Lina, we want to hear you now.
Yes, definitely. Women's Habitat is going through a digital transformation internally, enabled to provide, as Carla mentioned, the services remotely in the virtual world, but also in the way that we engage the community. Is not only the direct service, is everything else that we do, our work with volunteers, the community groups, our donors, everything is now going into that new way of engaging, and it has proved very important. As Carla mentioned, this amazing project of the Together Virtually has many layers. Not only is the hardware, is the training, because once you provide those gadgets to the clients, you need to make sure that they know how to use it, that it's safe to use it.
Yes.
So there's many layers that this amazing project is considering. And of course, there's no really enough funding to provide, because we don't want to have someone missing out the benefits of the programming, the counseling, the group setting, just because they either don't have the hardware, the equipment, or the internet, or because they don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
We are always looking for new sources of funding for this.
I can understand. I can very well understand. Why do women go to the shelter instead of family members?
Well, for many reasons. But the most important reason is safety.
Mm-hmm.
Women flee their homes, not because they don't want to be in a beautiful home. Women flee their homes because their lives and the lives of their children are at risk. Women have died at the hands of their loved ones, at the hands of their intimate partners. Going to a family member often is not an option, because you don't want to expose your family member to that kind of risk as well. Oh. And it's very easy for the abusive partner to find you at your family member, because they know where you where they live. So women come to the shelters because at the shelter we have anonymity. There is confidential. There's the addresses are not published, right?
Yes.
So at the shelter, You have staff 24/7 talking to you about addressing the immediate crisis, right? Looking at auditing the risks that you're facing, and then coming up with a safety plan that is unique to you, that will attend to your needs and the needs of your dependents. At the shelter, you have the constant ear of the staff who are there, not to judge, but to hear you, to listen to you, to support you in terms of your next steps, right? Staff who are trained, who are experienced in dealing with trauma, because trauma is very complex. Trauma is experienced differently by different people. And so it's important to have shelters. I mean, we wish we didn't exist, right? But we exist for a reason, and we exist because there is suffering, there is woman abuse, there is vulnerabilities that often family members are not able to support. And just for the safety component, it's really critical that family members are also safe from the abusive partner.
Yes. You kind of play that transition phase in one's life. When you step out the house, you don't know where you're going, but you know one day you want to do this. So during that phase of life, you play that very important role, not only providing shelter, but hope and that comfort. So I understand that you have limited space and resources. So how do you accommodate when space fills up? Do you send them to hotels or the shelters? What's the situation like currently?
Well, fortunately in Toronto, we have an organization called the Assaulted Women's Helpline, who plays a very critical role in gathering all the information. So they know which shelters have space, how many spaces, the configuration of space. So if we don't have space in our shelter, then we connect with Assaulted Women's Helpline, and they can support the women to access other shelters. Now, it is true that shelters have also had to access other spaces, right, where we staff, so that we can continue to support the women, because there is a lot of need. There is a lot of need, and we can't just ignore it, right? Women who are fleeing violence need specialized services. They need trauma-informed services. And so we try our best in the sector to make sure that the services and the spaces we're providing for women are able to offer the women the supports they need, appropriate services to the situations and the circumstances that lead them there.
You guys are doing amazing job. If women's shelter didn't exist, what would happen? The consequences for such women? At times, I'm think this,
Well, think back 50 years ago.
Yes.
Right. What would have happened? Women often would have gone to their parents' house, where sometimes the parents, not understanding the complexity and the dynamics of abuse, would send the woman back. Right. Some parents would understand the dynamics and would try to protect their children, but they would fall prey to the abusive person as well. I mean, shelters, there are many places that don't have shelters, right? Yes. And there is not enough shelters in Toronto as it is. There's not enough spaces in Toronto as it is. Shelters are necessary because the need and violence against women has risen so much that without shelters for women to escape to, we would be seeing a lot more lethality, a lot more homicides happening in our cities, in our towns, in our provinces. So shelters are critical. So are outreach services, and because the outreach services have the capacity to do some preventative work, right? So we work with women in the community, we work with children and boys in the community. And one of the things that Women's Habitat is very proud of is that we look at this issue of violence against women with a very large scope. Yes. We look at it as an issue that needs solutions that involve everyone. And that includes men, abusive men who need to go for help, to address their use of violence, men who are leaders and who don't use violence, that can support women, that can support those men who are using violence. Everyone in society has a role to play when it comes to prevention, to addressing violence against women. We need to start talking to our children in ways that teach them healthy ways of dealing with each other. We need to ensure that the inequalities are addressed, right? Because when we empower a boy and disempower a girl in the home, we are preparing the stage for unequal relationships, for abusive relationships, right? And I'm sure that when a woman is killed, when a woman is abused, the men in her life, the brothers, the cousins, the fathers, they suffer as well. So domestic violence, abuse, or violence against women hurts everybody. It hurts society. Yes. It costs society billions of dollars.
Yes.
To deal with the aftermath. It impacts labor, employment. You know, women are impacted when they're abused and cannot go to work. No, absenteeism. When women are scared to go to work because the violence that is at home can follow them to work. It impacts all of us.
Yes.
Right? Colleagues.
Yes.
You know, and it's a serious issue that needs to be looked at collectively so that we can come up with collective solutions.
Very, very well explained. I think this practice should have been adopted long back by previous generations. Yes. Thank you so much, lovely ladies, for all the amazing work you have been doing for the women impacted by the violence. It's not only the women, it's the society. As Carla just said, you're helping the society with all your time, work.
Better relationships, better human beings, better societies. Ekta, thank you so much for providing a platform for organizations like Women's Habitat to come in and raise awareness and talk about the work that is happening, talk about the issue, but also for women and men who are watching your show to also raise their awareness and to also realize that they too can do something. They too can support someone that they know that is being abused, right? They too can think about their own behavior, right? And stop it in its track and go for help. We have a project coming up called Real Men, and it's looking at supporting and providing boys and young men with the space to address issues around gender and social norms, building healthy relationships, self-esteem, creating a real brotherhood that is based on respect, that is based on love, that is based on being a decent human being. And so watch out for that. We will be on social media very soon. And thank you so very much.
Do you share that link with me?
We will.
I will talk about that in my program.
Amazing.
Okay.
And thank you so much for taking the time to come on my show. And thank you so much for sharing such relevant information with my viewers. God bless you, ladies. Have a wonderful, happy Valentine's Day and a happy Black History Month.
You too. Thank you so very much.
Keep safe.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.